Hi, it's Christopher, Mono County Library Director and co-host of the Oxygen Starved podcast, which is returning next week. I'm back with two great picks for Book Talk Friday, one old and one new. And let's start with the new this time. What Strange Paradise by Omar El-Akkad just came out at the end of July. Now, this story starts with 9-year-old Syrian boy Amir washing up unconscious on an unnamed, presumably Greek island. He comes to, begins to understand he is all wet, he's lying face down in some sand, lifts his head up to look around and sees bodies washed ashore around him in this strange place. He sees men in uniforms poking among the bodies who see him alive and suddenly start toward him speaking an unfamiliar language. Well, what would you do in that situation? Amir gets up and runs. He's found and rescued by a rebellious teenager named Vena. She knows she needs to save this boy and that letting him be inducted into the local refugee camp is not the answer. The plot unfolds from there in two alternating directions. The plight of Amir and his family that led from Syria to Egypt to that beach, and then Vena's attempt to help save Amir and how that unfolds over the following few days, even though they don't speak each other's language. This is a well-paced and dramatic novel, and I will admit is at times an emotionally difficult read and has an ending that will leave you with questions on purpose. Now, I hesitate to label a book as important because that can be a turnoff to readers, but what sticks in my gut after reading this novel is that we haven't yet, as an enlightened human race, fully cracked the refugee problem. People right now, as I speak, are risking their lives on rickety boats in unforgiving waters. And this is happening in the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, the English Channel. It happened between Cuba and Florida. Once in a refugee camp, a person's stay in that camp isn't measured in days or weeks or even months. It's typically measured in years. And camps are often dangerous and difficult places with few distractions or mental stimulations. Regardless of where one sits on that socio-political spectrum about refugees and asylum seekers, this novel at least illustrates what is probably, and unfortunately, an all too common experience amongst people fleeing war, and the ones who pay the biggest price are the ones with the least power to do anything about it, the kids. Now, this novel reminded me of another. What is the What by David Eggers. It was written and published in 2006 and was a National Book Award finalist. It is a fictionalized account of the life of Valentino Achak Dang, one of the lost boys of Sudan who was driven from his family and village by war as a boy and forced to survive on his own. Early on, when his village is first sacked, the 6-year-old goes with his mother to live with his aunt. His mother goes out one night to investigate as she hears his aunt scream, and neither of them ever return, the boy hiding in a sack of grain. He ultimately finds his way into a group of lost boys, a term used to describe what was estimated to be over 20,000 orphan Sudanese children making their own way to a refugee camp in Ethiopia in the mid-1990s, only to find it is not what they expected, and at any rate they are ultimately set upon and forced to flee for their lives again, this time to a refugee camp in Kenya, on foot. Along the way, he and his fellow lost boys endure physical and psychological torment, starvation, disease, attacks from wild animals, and rampaging soldiers, scenarios that are unimaginable to most of us. He ultimately ends up in the United States by the end of the book. Now, Eggers worked directly with Dang on this book, and it was a conscious decision on both their parts to present it as fiction rather than biography, and I will tell you it works. Like What Strange Paradise, this book will leave you pondering what we take for granted, the importance of home, safety, and being able to plan for a normal future. This is What is the What by Dave Eggers. This is What Strange Paradise by Omar El-Akkad. Both are available at Mono County Library. Both are great reads. Come in, find a book you want to read, and tell us about it. In the meantime, stay safe and happy reading.